Next question. Does the board or the mayor need to be more accessible to the general public? If so, how should this happen? If, in your opinion, it is already adequate enough, what processes will you continue to implement to ensure this interaction continues?
Yeah, I think the mayor and the board should be more accessible to the public, especially more accessible than it has been over the last couple of years. I mean, the idea of having most of our meetings on Zoom has made it really easy to hide behind a screen and not really be interacting with the public. You know, on the Planning Commission, I've been on the Planning Commission for 6 years, and there have been times when we have a full room. There are people that come in and they want to raise their voices. My biggest concern when they do come in is that sometimes they're coming in when it's already too late to have accomplished something. And I want to have them more knowledgeable earlier about what's happening in their neighborhoods and in the surroundings, so that when they do approach us, they're approaching us at a time when they have more power. And I think that that's part of transparency and just kind of educating the public about where we're at and what's happening in the future of Erie.
I like this question because I enjoy community, and I think that building community is a hands-on job. It's something you have to do face-to-face. Now, I don't envy that for the last 2 years, the board has been operating during a pandemic. And so a lot of the instances where we would have town events or we would have meetings, those things have been pushed to virtual options as a consolation. And I believe that going forward, now that we exit the pandemic, hopefully it won't come back, that we're able to continue to do those face-to-face activities and have more community building opportunities so that the public can get face-to-face with the mayor and the board of trustees. We are very accessible, I would say. As a current trustee, I get emails often, daily, from residents about issues that concern them. And so I do interact with the public quite often, and I think that will continue. I know that will continue. And we'll only be able to increase that cadence as we move into the summer, into our normal event season.
The COVID pandemic has been incredibly difficult for everybody, and certainly for interaction between residents and government. One thing that I'm incredibly proud of is that I'm the only member of the Board of Trustees over the last 4 years that has attended every single regularly scheduled meeting. I show up to every meeting. In terms of how this should change in the future, I think this is something that we really should look at as we go to home rule. That everybody that's vying for a trustee position up here is looking to get a job that pays $300 a month. Is that fair? I've had people insist that trustees shouldn't be paid at all, but that limits the availability of this really important work to people that would actually need to get paid something like a living wage in order to do this work. I think we have a unique opportunity with our Home Rule Charter Commission to really ask the residents and to work together as to what is it that the job of a trustee should be and how should they be compensated, and is that equitable and correct for our community?
So when we all run as candidates, we know exactly what this position is. This position is more or less it's a volunteer position because there isn't really much pay that the mayor or the board of trustees receive. But that doesn't stop many individuals from trying to request your vote for office. Individuals who are board of trustee members, they are servants of and for the residents. They are the elected individuals that are supposed to be the voice of the residents. 3 things come to mind when I see this question: transparency, openness, and honesty. In the past 4, 6, 8 years, that has been extremely lacking at Town Hall, to the point where we are constantly in the news about this for one scandal or another. That really isn't conducive for us as residents or town staff, or let alone the other individuals who might not be complicit in this. So really, it's about having this open nature with the residents, having this communication. And then if you have transparency initiatives like a 2018 budget transparency that was released in 2018 and then stopped being produced in 2018.
Time's up.
So this comes back to that foundational value. Everyone needs to be safe, seen, heard, and valued, so that they can come to the town and feel like they can engage and know that they'll be respected and heard. Pre-COVID, I used to attend once a month coffees at the rec center. It was coffee with the mayor and trustees. And it was really interesting to get to meet some of your neighbors that you wouldn't get to meet otherwise and hear some of their concerns. Things that were brought up was oil and gas development in neighborhoods, traffic, transit, lack of transit availability, questions about composting. And so I'm just trying to remember what these engagements were about. That's so important, that engagement. And yes, I think that the town government should be transparent and accessible, and I would be happy and thrilled to facilitate that connection.
I used to attend some of those coffees with the mayor and trustees as well over the years, and those were great, and I would commit to continuing that sort of a tradition or an event. The 3 minutes of public comment that an individual gets at a Board of Trustees meeting is very stale because it's not interactive. They state their case and then they have to sit down. So I'll take my $300 and spend it on coffee. I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The board needs to be more accessible, and they also need to listen too when people come to them and try to talk to them. So for starters, you could probably end the state of emergency. The current board went 2 years hiding behind Zoom calls, which was extremely frustrating. I'd try to log in, and the first thing they would do was turn all the cameras off and have a backroom secret meeting, like where we have no idea what's going on. So it's unfortunate that happened. And to counter the fear of COVID, my business has 150 people in it all day, every day, and we've been open for 2 years, and we've not had any harm to anybody. So, and God bless the teachers for being brave enough and smart enough to go in and live and work in the real world. So, yeah, it's been unfortunate that's happened, but of course, I love the idea of being accessible, being open. I plan on being a representative and a voice to the people that are currently not being heard or listened to or being represented, to be quite frank.
So I'm going to do something a little unconventional here. How many of you were essential workers? Raise your hands. Essential workers. You had to go into the office. Okay, so if you had to go into the office, but your board of trustees and mayor didn't have to, what does that say about our local government? I think we should be in person. I think we should be accessible. The executive sessions need to really be reserved for things that involve personal matters, not for any other things. It's our duty to be there for you. You know, whether you want to tell us we're doing an awful job, whether you want to say great things, whether you have a question, we should be there all the time. We need to be responsive to emails. When I was out canvassing, this came up a couple of times. People said, hey, I've tried to email the board and I've got nothing back. Or in some cases, I got a one-word response that just said no. That type of thing won't fly, and if I'm elected as a trustee, you can bet on the fact that I will be there working every single time we have to have a meeting, and I will respond to your emails when I receive them. Thank you.